structure to use here is an integrated structure. More than likely you haven't done but one before. If you have, maybe you had a bad experience with it, maybe you had a great experience with it. But here, I do think that this is the best structure to use. But obviously, you can use a normalization, and I'll talk about that, that normal sort of one by one structure too. But for now, just think about the integrated structure, and I'm going to explain what I mean by that. So here we are firstly basing our paragraphs on themes. So a sample may be, I've got my intro, my theme 1, I am discussing both texts. Theme 2, same thing. Theme 3, same thing, and then I'm concluding. So here, within each theme, so all my 3 themes, I am linking to both texts, and that allows me to compare. I'm comparing the analysis, so I'm able to compare the ideas, the context, and that is the crux of this module, right? Comparison about why this textual conversation is happening. It's a one-for-one thing, and that's what this structure helps us achieve. And an example would be sample essay structures for Tempest and Haxley. My theme 1 could be on social hierarchy, theme 2 on imprisonment, theme 3 on redemption. And all of these and for all of these 3, I'm going to talk about both my texts. Same thing for sample 2, Mrs. Dalloway and the Hours, Ariel and Birthday Letters, and Richard III and Looking for Richard. That one big idea, and then I'm talking about how there are resonances and dissonances across both texts. Now, again, clear body structure is super important. Aim for an integrated structure. You want to have balanced discussion of the text, and you want to be comparative. And in order to be comparative, you need to use phrases like similarly, this mirrors, likewise, the sort, to show that you're actually actively comparing across the 2 texts. So, a clear structure. Paragraph 1, I've got quote 1, my parent text. I'm using 3 quotes here. Quote 2, child text. Quote 3, my parent text again. So it's that one-for-one conversation, right? So if I'm talking about, let's say, power in Richard III, I'm talking about how power is depicted. Richard's journey to power is depicted in a Machiavellian way in the parent text. In the child text, there is those 20th century ideals that are attached to it. But, I may talk about that. And then in the parent text, again, I'm talking about the Elizabethan influence. Then, in paragraph 2, I might say, okay, now let's turn it around. I'm going to start off with the child text. I'm going to talk about the 20th century ideals that Pacino talks about, his 20th century context, why he's doing docudrama to begin with. Then I'm going to bring in my parent text and why is it a Shakespearean play. I may focus specifically on form here. I can do sort of anything that I want with this. And then quote 3, child text. So the aim is to compare the purpose of similarities and differences here and comment on why that is the case. So, and it's quite interesting to think about why has the composer of the child text, why have they chosen to keep the similarities to the parent text? Does it still resonate with with their audiences, with the modern audiences? Is it still purposeful to us? So those questions we are considering in our essay. We're considering when we look at this analysis. Again, context is the key here. You're looking at why these changes have occurred as a result of the context, as a result of the changes in our living style and, our ideals across time. So that's what's quite important here. If you've got any questions about these, please keep them coming. If anything is confusing, want me to repeat myself, more than happy to do that. Just pop up a question. So, so your analysis kind of it should flow something like this. First, I read text, say that was my parent text. This is what it said about the audience for which it was written, and I thought this. Then I read text B that was written for a more modern audience, and I thought, okay, it's quite interesting in the way that humanity has changed over time, and yet at the same time, humanity hasn't changed. We still remain the same people at our core, and it has changed my opinion of what was represented in text A. Then now going back to text A, I can now reconsider its ideas. Like I can now reconsider why Shakespeare talked about the Machiavellian perspective with my new opinion of the fact that things haven't changed as much, right? Something like that, where I'm looking at that active comparison across the 2 texts. Bonus, at the end of the journey, I can now say that the 2 texts, learning them and studying them together is valuable. is valuable because it's giving me new ideas about, about the role of language, about the role of context, about the progression of the human society, and that is going to be in your thesis. So context and purpose, they play a very important role here. Please don't forget them. You need to come back to them because they are the drivers of the changes in your text, of the resonances and dissonances. Um, Cool. So now, a checklist that you can use to sort of be like, all right, I've got everything in here. So topic sentence that makes an argument about the key idea, that theme that you're talking about. Then 1 to 2 quotes from text A. Again, 1 to 2 quotes from text B. You want to aim for 3 to 4 quotes per paragraph. I sort of like to aim for 2 from parent text and 2 from child text for each paragraph. So that's 4 quotes per paragraph. But again, you can go for that 1-for-1 structure and aim for 3, as long as your analysis is powerful. Too often, I do see quotes being used that are like phrases more than quotes. Don't fall for that trap. If you're just gonna use 3 little phrases, give me some bare minimum analysis. You've got a good technique to go with it, but it's just like a couple of phrases. It's not doing as much. That won't do. So make sure that the quotes that you're using, they're substantial, and they link back to the new idea. So 1 to 2 quotes from text A, 1 to 2 quotes from text B. Bonus, again, put in 1 extra quote from text A to show that this is how it has changed my opinion about text A, that last bit that we looked at earlier. Comparison of purpose using context, be specific, and you need to have that concluding statement and the audience impact. Hence, audiences are able to gain an insight into the role of, into the universal role of power in human society or in human evolution. Something like that, where we're actually thinking, all right, this is why, the whole thing is happening. This is why the text has been appropriated to show me that humanity hasn't changed as much. So